Welcome to the second session of the module 2. Basically, in the first session of the second module, we have discussed the Lancashire boiler, which comes under the category of horizontal, internally fired, fire tube, or natural circulation boiler, which is being discussed in detail. It's about its construction and its working principle. So, later on that, we have also discussed the different parts of a Lancashire boiler also. So in this session, let us discuss about the one more boiler which is there in your syllabus, which comes under the category of the water tube boilers. This session will have a table of contents of Babcock and Wilcox boiler and comparison between construction and working of a Babcock and Wilcox boiler, and then the comparison between a water tube boiler and a fire tube boiler. Let's start this. Basically, before I start, I just would like to tell you Babcock and Wilcox are the two scientists who started, who invented this boiler, which can produce the pressure much higher compared to the fire tube boiler, that is the Lancashire one. The steam producing capacity of this Babcock and Wilcox boiler is very high. Okay, now this is a horizontal, but this is an externally fired, whereas a Lancashire boiler is an internally fired, and this is a natural circulation, and that was also natural circulation. But the Lancashire boiler was a fire tube boiler, whereas this is a water tube boiler. The Babcock and Wilcox boilers are also uh, known as the longitudinal drum boiler or a horizontal tube boiler. The capacity is more, so it is always mounted in a horizontal axis, nothing else. Instead of keeping the drum in perpendicular, they are keeping it in horizontal. It is only few advantages with respect to the design aspects also, because if it is horizontal, more surface will be supported, so the mechanical balancing will also be easy. Okay, that is the reason why we go for that. It is probably the first water tube boiler designed and widely used across the globe. It is the first water tube boiler and the mostly used water tube boiler in the all around the world. Now this gives a very clear picture. It's very interesting. I just tell you the movement of the water as well as the steam over here. First, I would like to tell you the constructional details. Now this Babcock and Wilcox boiler has got a different part. This is called as a drum in which the water and steam will be collected. This is nothing but a steam stop valve which is being used to stop the steam, and this is also used to take the steam which is being formed out for the required place. Okay, next this is a safety valve, which in most of the cases which we call it as a dead weight safety valve, we will have it. And then steam and water drum, this is already have explained you. Then there is a pressure gauge, whatever the water that is being converted into steam, and then the steam, if we keep heating, what happens, the pressure keeps building up and it keeps increasing. So it is very difficult to know what is the pressure with which the steam is being formed. We cannot open it and see. Is it clear? It is not a joke. The steam will always heat, it will always have a higher energy level, so it can take your life also. Okay, so what we will do is we will have a sensor which called as the pressure gauge. So this pressure gauge will tells us what is the pressure of the steam that is being formed in the water drum. Okay, now this is a water gauge will also be there on the side left part of that water gauge. So the water will be continuously converted into steam. So what happens? The water level keeps decreasing. In order to fill the water, or if I want to know if completely water is been converted into steam, but still if you keep heating, what happens? It may causes for any hazardous things to happen. So that what we do it is we will always check the water level, and we will check the water level, what is the quantity of water which is being left out, we will study in that. Then we will also have a feed valve. A feed valve is something like a pipe, that's it. through which we are sending the water. It is something like a one way. We will send the water inside that pipe and it will go into the drum, but we cannot take the water away from, we cannot take the water from the drum using a feed valve. That is the beauty of it. It is something like a one way, our traffic. Only the water will go inside the drum, but it doesn't come out. That is the use of feed valve. Then we will also have two things. One is ascending water tube. Point to be noted here. Please be careful here. This is called as a ascending water tubes, and on the opposite side we have a descending water tubes. This is a ascending water tube and this is a descending water tubes. And few cases we also call it as a runner and riser. We also call this as a ascending as a runner and this as a riser. And in between that we will also have a uptake header and then downtake header is also there. Uptake header on the left side and the downtake header on the right side is also there. Okay, and then in between that we will all have a number of pipes which we call it as a superheater. A superheater is also there in a U shape. Is it clear? In a U shape we have the superheater, and after that superheater the uptake header and downtake header. Between uptake header and downtake header like this there is always a number of tubes are also there. Is it clear? In these tubes what is happening is the water is flowing there. Is it clear? So it is, if you see that it is not like this perpendicularly, it is tilted like this. It is intentionally tilted like this so that the what happens, the hot water that is being formed should be go to the uptake header. Is it clear? That is the idea behind of it. Then we will also have a hopper. Hopper is something like a place where you can see it in uh, grinding machines, or you can also see it in a flour mills where you will put the grains and it will be converted into the flour, right? Flour mills as usual we do it. There will be a something like a hopper like structure. So the same hopper like structure will be there, and in which we will supply the coal. Coal is nothing but a fuel which has been used for the combustion, and then we will have a chain grate stoker. A chain grate stoker is something which will also have two wheels on which the coal will be falling and it will be heated up. So it will be slowly, it will be moving. So no need for any external feeding. Automatically by its rotation itself, it will move the fuel. Is that clear? So there will be a primary air supply will be there in order for the combustion. So this is the place where the combustion is been taking place. At the end of the chain grate, we will get the ashes, and this ashes will be taken out. Okay, now this the uptake header and downtake header. In between this uptake header and downtake header, the number of pipes are also being separated by baffle plates. Baffle plates ಅಂತಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು we have placed over here, which a dotted rectangular small things that tells us the baffle plates. And then we will also have a mud box at the end of the downtake header, and we will also have a blow off pipe. So this blow off pipe is nothing but in order to whenever we want to empty the drum, then we will use this blow off pipe. This is what the constructional features of a Babcock and Wilcox boiler. Now let us see the working principle. How does it works and generates the steam. Okay, now if you consider this, the combustion does takes place over here. As usually, the 3/4 of the turbine, boiler drum will be filled with water, and this water which comes down with the downtake header. With the downtake header, what happens? It just come down here, and it will be filled with all the pipes which have been shown over here. Now, what happens here? Since the combustion is been taking place over here, so the heat will be Shana, because this is a water tube boiler. What is the principle of water tube boiler? Water will be flowing through the pipes and it will be covered by the heat. So that what happens? The water inside the pipe will be heated up. Correct? So the same thing, we will all have a number of pipes over here. A number of pipes in which the water is flowing. Is it clear? So the flue gases are coming over here like this. So it has been exposed to the flue gases. Once if it is being heated. Now, before I explain this, the normal physics, by the physics of the fluids, I just will tell you whether it may be a air or water or any fluid, any liquid or a gases. Once it is being hot, its density decreases. Its density decreases, that means its weight will decrease, so that it will tries to move upwards, whether it may be a air or a water or any liquid. Once if it becomes hot, it will move upwards. It will move upwards. Thus, in the downtake heater, whatever the water is being covered over here, once it is being heated, it will go to it will go back to the drum by the uptake header. By the uptake, up means it should go up. Uptake header, through which the warm water will go back over here. It will get mixes up with this normal water. Once again, once it goes upwards, obviously the water should occupy. It will come back over here once again. No, it will come back over here once again. Again it will be heated. The warm water will be heated. It becomes a hot water and it will go here. Once again it hot water will come over here. It will heat it. Then it forms to be a steam. It forms a steam. Which form of steam? First it will form it as the wet steam. The wet steam will be in a vapor state, my dear friends. It will be in a vapor state. Now when I just move this back to the drum, what happens? Will it mixes up with the water? No. Because it is in a vapor state, it will go on to collect at the top of the drum space. Point to be noted. Thus formed water into the steam. It is not a dry steam or it is not a superheated steam. It is a normal wet steam. Wet steam will also have a certain quantity of water. Is it clear? See, this water will this water presence in the steam doesn't makes it to be a very high good quality of a steam. So what happens? This small water quantity which is present in that should be removed. The wet steam should be converted into dry saturated steam, and then it should be converted into superheated steam. Fine. Please be careful. So what we will do it is the steam which is being collected at the top of the drum will be taken, as you can see it in the figure very clearly. He has shown it. This steam will be taken down to the superheater. It will be taken into the superheater. Now this, what is this superheater? Superheater is also a device or device which converts steam into superheated steam. That's a normal steam will be converted into superheated steam. That is the use of this superheater. So what happens here? The steam will enters into the superheater. As you can see, this U-shaped structure like Nama. This superheater will be exposed to the same flue gases. So what happens? The wet steam which is present here in this will be converted into dry saturated steam, and then it will be converted into superheated steam. That thus form the superheated steam will be sent and has been asked to collect at the top of the uh, drum, and it will be taken away whenever it is required. Okay, in order to have a uniform heating for all the section, so what we do it is we have got a baffle plates. We have got a baffle plates are something like this. If this pen is a pipe, it is being separated by the baffle plates. One is this baffle plate and the other one is this baffle plate. So what happens? It is something like a channel. The air which comes out here, the flue gases, will go across this, and it will not go like this. It will go once again in the particular channel. So that is the use of this baffle plate. Baffle plates are something like, even in your AC you will also have a baffle plate. So in the air cooler also it will direct the direction of movement of the air. So with the use of baffle plates, it always easy for movement or guiding the movement of the flue gases. That is how the Babcock and Wilcox boiler does works. And whatever it may be, the heat that is being given out to this will end up going back to the chimney at the right bottom side. Is that clear? That is the beauty of the Babcock and Wilcox boiler. Okay, let us go through the notes related to that. A horizontal steam or a water drum. This is the main part of the boiler. It is supported by a steel structure at a certain height and is independent of brickworks. The size of the boiler drum is small as compared with the boiler drum of a fire tube for the same capacity. So that is what for the Lancashire boiler the size is big compared to the Babcock and Wilcox boiler. It has a water and steam. All safety and control devices are mounted on the boiler drum. Okay. Now this a bundle of steel tubes. That is what I was just talking. Between the uptake header and the downtake header, there are a bundle of steel tubes are there. The front end of the boiler drum is connected to the uptake header by a short tube and the rear end is connected to the downtake header by long tubes. In uh, between the headers, a number of small diameter steel tubes are fitted at an angle of 5 degrees to 15 degrees of inclination. Okay, it's fine, well and good. With a horizontal to provoke the water circulation. These steel tubes are arranged in the combustion chamber in a zigzag way so that the more surface area of tube is being exposed to hot gases. Combustion chamber, it is the space above the grate below the front end of the drum where the combustion of fuel takes place. This chamber enclosed by brick work and is lined from inside by the fire bricks. The combustion chamber is divided into separate compartments. Above the furnace is the hottest and the last chamber is the lowest temperature. Okay. This makes the path of the hot gases longer before leaving the boiler through the chimney. The superheater is placed between the drum and water tubes. The dampers are provided at the rear end of the chamber to regulate the fresh air supply for maintaining proper combustion of the fuel. Baffle plates, as we have already discussed, the baffle plates which will guide or it will deflect or it will make the flue gases to move in a particular directions. So that is the one. It is placed across the water tubes. It deflects hot gases. It deflects the hot gases coming out from the furnaces to allow the hot gas pass around the water tubes. Superheater is a device which has been used to convert from a wet steam into a superheated steam. It is set of U tubes just below the boiler drum. Safety and control devices are being used. That is like the water level indicators, the pressure gauge, blow off cork, fusible plug, steam stop valve, check valves, and then the water level indicator, pressure gauge, all have been maintained in order for the safety of the boiler. They are called mountings as basically these devices mount over boiler drums. Boiler drum safeties are very important, my dear friends. You might have heard about many accidents in any power plants or it may be any industries. If there is a boiler have not been maintained properly, in case of the boiler, if it blasts, hundreds of people, many of the people will lose their life. So much of energy it will have. It is something like a huge bomb. If you can, if it has been exploded, so it will take many lives. So that is why the safety and control is been taken place of the maximum priority. Working water is introduced into a boiler drum through the feed valve. Water descends into the downtake header, into the water tubes, and then into the uptake header. That is what I just told you. It is something like this. This is a downtake header and this is uptake header. Water will comes to downtake header first, and it will get heated up, and then it will go to the uptake header. From the uptake header, it will go to the drum back. So that is the major idea of making it as an inclination pipes. Okay. Now The hot flue gases, water descends into the, okay, the hot flue gases from the furnace pass over the water tube. The path of the hot gases is guided by the baffle plates as shown in the figure and passes out to the chimney. As the hot gases passes over the water tubes, the water gets converted into steam. This steam, due to low density, this is what I told you, because it has got a lower density, rises up to the tube through a uptake header and reaches the top of the boiler tank. Since there is a gas and since there is a separation of different liquid and gases are there, so what happens? The gases will be collected at the top and the liquid will be collected at the bottom. The path of the hot gases is guided by the baffle plates as shown in the figure, and the hot gases over the water tube, the water gets converted into steam. This steam, due to low density, higher the temperature, lower the density, okay, rises up through the tube, through the uptake header and reaches the top of the boiler tank. This sets up a natural circulation of water. So that is what I told you. This comes under the category of natural circulation type. So that what happens, the circulation of the steam and water will be a natural phenomenon. No external aid is required for that. The steam collected in the boiler is wet. Okay, that is what I have told you already. This made to pass through the superheater in a U tubes just below the boiler drums. The hot gases on their way out pass over these tubes, hence converting the steam into superheated steam. The superheated steam is then passed out to the turbines through the steam stop valve. Okay, now the wet steam will be converted into superheated steam once again by heating it much more. For safety of the boiler consists of safety valve, steam stop valve, blow off pipes, and then the pressure gauge. That is all the working principle of uh, Babcock and Wilcox boiler. Now, there is one often question they will ask it: comparison between a water tube boiler or a fire tube boiler. Now, before I just start here, now, as much as possible, try to explain the things with a small sketches. Now, even in the water tube boiler and fire tube boiler, when you want to explain it, it's hardly, it takes around 30 seconds or 1 minute. That's it. To draw two sketches of a fire tube boiler in which the pipes will be filled with flue gases, whereas here the pipes will be filled with the water. Water is filled, so it is water tube boiler. Fire tube is filled, so it is a fire tube boiler, where this is covered by water and this is covered by fire. Is that clear? Now, let us consider the parameter. The flow of water. When it considered to the flow of water, water tube boiler, water flows through the tubes surrounded by the hot gases. This is the basic principle. Whereas in a fire tube boiler, the hot gases flow through the tubes and water in the drum surrounds the tubes. If you take the water circulation, water circulates in a definite direction between the drum and the water tubes. There is no circulation of water in the drum. So there is no movement of the water. It is fixed where only the flue gases will change. The fire will move up. Whereas here the water will keep circulating it. Okay. Bursting chances are the safety chances. I don't say it as a bursting chances. Safety hazardous are the safety chances. Safety chances of the water tubes are more compared to the fire tube boilers. It is because the water is continuously flowing, we can have a better chance of controlling the safety vices. If you consider the space required, the floor area required in the less for a given capacity, whereas the floor area is required more for the given capacity. It is only because if you take the Lancashire boiler, it is huge in construction. It is bigger than the Babcock and Wilcox boiler. So it requires obviously the more floor area. Construction parameter tells you the construction is simpler and easy in water tube boiler. Whereas in fire tube boiler, the initial cost is high and the construction is difficult and complicated. That is it. The risk involved. The risk involved in case of a bursting is not high. The same point it has been repeated. That's it. Safer. Water tube boilers are safer than the fire tube boiler. The model. That's it. Outcome of that. Transportation. The transportation is easier and convenient because of the smaller size of the boiler shell. Whereas in the transportation for the fire tube boiler, it is difficult due to the large size of the drum. Especially road transportation or the transporting from one place to the other place will be very difficult. So in most of the cases, if they want to go for a fire tube boiler, they will start constructing in the place where there is a requirement. That is a restriction. Treatment of water. Feed water treatment is must as a scale formation in tubes may lead to bursting. Whereas the feed water treatment is not necessary as the scale formation will not lead to any bursting over there because it will be flowing. The water will be flowing in most of the downtake header and even in the pipes, and then it will be going to the uptake header, and then it will be going back to the uh, number of the tubes and the drum. So the cleaning or the treatment of water is required, or else what happens, there will be scaling formation. My dear friend, scaling means you might have seen immersion coil, which we use it for water heating purposes. In the immersion coil, what happens if you keep heating it up, there will be a salt collection on the surface of the immersion coil. A white color, hard, very hard. Scaling will be formed. That is what we call it as a scaling. Is it clear? That has to be removed. A rate of steam formation is much more over here, which around 45,000 kgs per hour it will generate, whereas the rate of steam formation here is up to 9,000. 9,000 and 45,000 is very much, almost 5 times it is more than 5 times it is more capacity of water tube boilers compared to the fire tube boilers. Applications. Due to higher rate of steam generation, these boilers are suitable for large power plants. These are suitable for industrial applications rather than the power generation. Okay. So operating pressures, it operates at 125 bars, whereas it operates at the fire tube boiler operates at 25 bars, whereas this operates at 125 bars water tube boilers. Here also it is 5 times much larger than the fire tube boiler. That is the reason why it is extensively used in power productions. So the power generation sectors always go for water tube boilers because of its capacity of producing the steam and the pressure with which it generates. Now you can get an idea how much the power it will have it when it generates at 125 bars of pressure. Now let me talk about the advantages and disadvantages of water tube boilers over fire tube boilers. Advantages: steam can be raised more quickly in the water tube boiler. Steam at higher pressure can be produced. Higher rate of evaporation. This is what we have also discussed just now. Higher rate of evaporation. Sediment deposition is less and suitable for any type of fuel and method of firing. That is true. Any type of fuel can be used for firing this. More effective heat transfer. That means heat will be transferred more effectively from the uh, flue gases to the water. Failure of water tubes will not affect the working of the boiler, and more safety can be expected in the water tube boilers. Occupies less space, so the initial investment is less, and the maintenance is also less, and the cost is also less. Once the size is less, it is easy for the transportation. Now, if you consider the disadvantages, not suitable for ordinary water. The water pre-treatment is required because it may lead to often scaling formations. Not suitable for mobile applications. Though it is smaller, but it is not as smaller as the other Cochrane boilers or any other type of small boilers. So not suitable for mobile applications. It has to be in a fixed position because it will be generating around 125 kilopascals of pressure. So it has to be of fixed type. High initial cost and hence not economical. Not suitable for engines like locomotives. Construction of boilers is neither compact nor rigid. They are the few disadvantages of this. Few of these assignment questions will be given over here in this.